Mr. Lester, we meet again. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Starting to feel like the holidays, right? Gosh, here we are in between holidays. Got a lot going on. Weather's cooling off around the country. It is what it is. It's a nice time of year.
It is a beautiful time of year. It's also a busy time of year. I've got a list of things I have needed to accomplish for months, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's December.
Yeah, I thought that was in the spring. You did that list of things. The
Yeah, I
spring
didn't
clean.
finish it.
No, you didn't do it last spring, so now I got to wait till okay.
Your old pal over here doesn't quite move as fast as she would like on a few things. But today, I thought it would be appropriate, being the investment guy that you are, to, pay respect in a way for the sad news from Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's holding company, announcing that Charlie Munger, his longtime business partner and basically right hand at everything he did, passed away the other day at, was he 99?
99. He would have reached his 100th birthday just right into January of next year. So
I
99 is good though. I mean, that's a good run. I mean, I don't think anybody could complain about that.
and he was doing so well up until the last moment that any of us knew about, and Warren's up there too, we're firing on all cylinders there, and I think that that's a wonderful thing and shows that longevity is a real thing too. But I was reading about their relationship. It's interesting that Charlie worked for Warren's, was it father or grandfather, at his grocery store
Hmm.
when he was a young kid, but he wasn't friends with Warren then. They didn't connect and hit it off until years and years later when they were in their professions and were like, you and I,
How about that? Yeah, we should work together. Yeah. Got this
yeah.
idea. Maybe we could turn it into something. And then look what they did. It's amazing what they
And they
did.
really, basically they're me and you, they yin and yang. You've got the financial, no, all the financial like knowledge up here. And I've got well, plug the cord here and it'll work, and they really were a yin and yang though, all jokes aside.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
you
I
being
think
a fiduciary, I'm sure you looked up to a lot of things that they did, or maybe didn't like some things they did. I don't know.
well, of course. I mean, so first of all, massively successful investment company, Berkshire Hathaway. Most people are familiar, if not with the name Berkshire Hathaway, certainly Warren Buffett, maybe not
Hmm.
as much Charlie Munger, but um, when you just walk through what they did, and I mean, the reality is, yes, they uh, well, he was, and Warren Buffett is a very, very wealthy person. But the way that they went about doing that was creating wealth for other people. So by creating wealth for other people, they created wealth for themselves. And
Never thought about
uh,
that way.
yeah, and so and by all accounts, I mean, I'm sure there's probably somebody out there that has some issue with them, but for the most part, all you really ever heard was that they were just um, it's a good company, good decent people, very their business model and the way they ran their businesses was it was just always meant to be on the up and up, right, and for the
Hmm.
good of everyone. Even though, and I think that's okay. Building a company that's tremendously successful, it's fine that you're tremendously successful doing that, but when your attitude is kind of like what we talk about a lot of time, we do well when you do well,
Hmm.
and they really got started with investing a little differently, right? So building a giant fund that investors can invest in is a little different than what we do, as far as we're not building a fund, but we're managing assets for clients. But there are some similarities in the sense that we benefit when our clients benefit, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And of course, we've both been reading up a little bit on Charlie Munger, and I was just looking into some of the things that he really believed in. I thought was really not just interesting but powerful. And I wrote it down here. I didn't want to mess it up, but one of the things he was quoted as saying is, "Deliver to the world what you would buy if you were on the other end."
Now,
Right. So
I really think that's cool.
yeah, I think that it's great. It's a mentality and a business model that they followed through, and I can see a lot of resemblances to. I mean, that really hits home for me because we talk about on the radio show quite a bit, and even on our podcast. The whole this idea of sales and somebody having a product and selling you a product in order to get a commission or however it goes. It it just doesn't feel good. I've never met anybody who loves going to the car lot, right?
Oh,
They like the smell of the new car. They like the look of the new car. But you're just always a little apprehensive about the salesperson and the
also
process.
with real estate, like you would look online, but you don't input your info because they'll be all over you.
Well, absolutely. And there are, I mean, there are plenty of great car salespeople out there, right?
And
Or plenty of
realtors,
great
and yeah,
realtors. But it just, but there's this apprehensiveness like, this guy or this girl, they're going to try to sell me something. I know they're going to try to sell me something. They're going to try to talk me into it. I'm going to want to leave. And then they're not going to, it's going to be awkward leaving. Nobody really wants that. So I love this idea of delivering something to the world that if you weren't the person with that, and if we have a product, our product is active management of portfolios for individuals. Our product is act as a fiduciary, put your client's need ahead of your own. Our product would be, again, with the active management, but um, it, active management without taking commissions. When you take a commission for a product, that you're selling the product, not yourself, right? And you're
true.
taking a commission to sell the product. And so I just think that it's really, really powerful and a big catalyst for Talon Wealth and what we've been doing around the country for a long time now. I feel the same way about it. So put your clients' needs ahead of your own, and put something out there that you would buy if you were on the other end. In other words, I wouldn't want somebody to sell me a product. I wouldn't want somebody getting commissions off of a transaction that I do with them. I
That's a
would only,
real thing that bothers you in real life because, there's a lot of things that Talon Wealth does that thankfully I get to be involved in. And it involves buying things, whether it's advertising on the radio, like you talked about, and you very much are aware of the sales process of that because it bugs you so much sometimes. I mean that in a nice way, like you're
for me personally, I'm
watching out
not
for
saying for
things.
everybody, it just feels disingenuous, right? So when you have a product and you're selling the product and you get paid a percentage of what you sold or a commission on what you sold, that's to me that's a lot different than
Hmm.
partnering up with somebody on their retirement plan and saying, hey, listen, if I can show you how to get a higher rate of return net of my fee, then there's value there. If I can't, there's no reason to work together. To me, that makes sense, as opposed to going to somebody and saying something like, well, I have this product, and if you invest in it, this other company over here, right, that has the product is going to pay you this or pay you that, or give you income or whatever it is, but I'm going to take a commission up front to make that happen. That's very different. And so, I mean, sales are necessary in life,
Of
right?
course.
Going back to the car analogy, I like the car analogy because it's an uncomfortable situation. I've never met anybody who loves the process. But
Never
the
have either.
you meet a lot of people who love cars and trucks, and
Yeah. They
that's
had to
great.
buy it somewhere.
But it's just it can be a little painful, and I don't think financial services should be awkward or painful in that way. There's a process sometimes where you're inviting someone into your house. Because maybe they're coming to visit you with financial services, or maybe they're just the type of firm that doesn't have an office or something. And
Yeah.
that's got to be pretty daunting. You're going to be saying, well, listen, I'm kind of curious about what it is that you're promoting or how this could help me in retirement. But once I invite you into my home, how do I
Mhm.
get you out? Not the,
Not we're not talking the holidays, people. We're talking
yeah, we're not, well,
not not
the holidays too. Like, well, you got all these people over for, a
not
holiday
the
meal.
cousin Eddie. You got to get him out of there at some
Cincinnati, and
point.
you're sitting around and somebody's getting a little toasted over there and somebody's and you're just I just want to go to bed. Like, how do I get
Seriously,
people out
we've all been there. It's
here?
not a joke.
Yeah, well, they could happen in sales too. How do I get out of here? So
Yeah.
the process should just be it should be something that is good for both sides. I think if you're working with an investment advisor, the investment advisor needs to provide value either through returns or reducing risk or both. But at the same time, there should be an education to it where you come out of that conversation or that meeting knowing more than you knew ahead of time about the types of investment options that are available that are likely to accomplish your goals, because goals change so much. It's
Oh yeah.
people go through asset accumulation, right, where they're not thinking about income or necessarily preservation of a portfolio. they're specifically thinking about growing it. That, you know, that meeting with somebody to help you with the preservation and distribution phase could be very beneficial if you were talking with a true fiduciary who was there to say, all right, I'm going to show you all of the options. I'm going to educate you on the ones that make the most sense for what you're looking to accomplish. But at the same time, I'll just go ahead and leave if you don't feel like I'm providing value. You don't have to kick me out. You know?
Exactly. I don't have to kick anybody out.
You don't have to, but it just feels like sometimes.
Hearing is that, you know, there's two S's that matter here. Sales, that's a bad one. Simplicity, a good one. And having value there is very important. And speaking of simplicity and a little bit of sales, I guess, because we would love for you to subscribe to this video podcast if you find these types of topics helpful. We do a new one every single week. There's an audio version as well on your favorite platform. But before we wrap it up, Mike, tell us that quote again from Charlie Munger that really just brings all of this full circle.
Yeah, I mean the one that I mentioned, and I'll read it, but because
he's got quite a few I know, but the one you mentioned really hit us.
It just stood out. So deliver to the world what you would buy if you were on the other end.
And right?
I think that's really powerful. Another big one is just make sure the trust that someone gives you is deserved. Right. I think that's another very, very powerful one that we didn't even get into. But earn the trust and deserve the trust. And if you're doing that, things will probably go pretty well. But
so
then
our thoughts with the Munger family, but at the same time, so much to learn from this man and those quotes. And it's interesting and cool that as a Talon employee, I get to see that you really do believe those things at Talon Wealth. And I think we should talk more about that on our next podcast.
There you go. Well, thanks so much, Kristen, and thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for watching. Go to guardingyournestegg.com for your free and objective personal financial plan.